10 years ago, a young boy vanished without a trace during his own birthday party. A case that shattered a quiet town and broke a mother's heart. Despite endless searches and sleepless nights, every lead went cold. Until a decade later, a simple yard sale revealed something no one expected. A single old Game Boy, covered in 3 faded Pokemon stickers, would unravel a horrifying truth, expose a hidden life in the shadows, and lead a desperate mother straight into the nightmare she'd feared most. But what she discovered was beyond anything she could have imagined. Before we dive into this shocking true story, let us know where you're watching from today. And if you want to see more real stories that feel straight out of a movie, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next. It happened on a day meant for joy. A day that should have been filled with laughter, cake, and the bright echo of a child's wishes. But for Elaine Whitmore, that birthday became a wound that would never truly heal. In the fall of 1991, her 8-year-old son Nathan vanished during his own birthday party in their quiet Pennsylvania hometown. One moment he was playing in the backyard with the other kids. The next, he was gone. No sound, no struggle, just gone. As if the earth itself had swallowed him whole. For 10 long years, Elaine lived with that silence. The police had exhausted every lead. Posters faded, candles melted, and hope, once fierce, grew thin and fragile. Yet on one golden Saturday afternoon in September, fate stirred again. The streets of Maple Hollow shimmered beneath a canopy of amber and gold leaves, sunlight spilling across the white fences and well-kept lawns of its storybook neighborhoods. The town had barely changed, still greeting each new day with the easy rhythm of small-town life. But inside Elaine's modest home, time had stood still. She sat on her couch, staring at the empty spot on the wall where a family photo once hung. A picture of Nathan grinning at the camera, his joy forever frozen. She had taken it down years ago, unable to bear the ache it brought. The sudden chime of the doorbell broke her trance. "Ayla, it's me," called a familiar voice. Donna Parker, her oldest friend, her anchor through the endless tide of grief, stood outside, determination etched across her face. "You ready?" Elaine hesitated, fingers brushing her worn sweater. "I don't know if I'm up for this." "You need it," Donna said gently but firmly. 10 years is long enough to hide from the world. Come on, it's just the Lavender Grove Community Yard Sale, 4 blocks away. Tops. 10 years. The words hung between them like a shadow. 10 years since Nathan disappeared without a trace. No suspects, no closure, only that endless ache that refused to fade. Still, Elaine found herself reaching for her jacket. "I've always liked yard sales," she murmured. "They're like time capsules, pieces of people's lives waiting to be remembered." Donna smiled. "That's the spirit. Let's go." As they walked to the car, Elaine couldn't help but notice how nothing around her had really changed. The same towering oaks guarded the streets. The same cheerful mailboxes lined up like sentinels. Time had moved on for everyone else. But for her, it had stopped the moment Nathan vanished. The drive to Ash Hollow took less than 5 minutes, but to Elaine it felt like crossing a decade. The Lavender Grove sale sprawled across front yards and driveways, the air alive with laughter, conversation, and the faint scent of baked goods. "Look at this turnout," Donna said, impressed. "Half the neighborhood must be out here." They wandered between tables piled high with relics of other lives. Vintage dresses swaying in the breeze, stacks of worn novels with yellowed pages, kitchen gadgets gleaming with nostalgia. For the first time in years, Elaine felt something close to calm. The normalcy of it all. The gentle hum of life continuing. It soothed her. Until it didn't. At one table cluttered with children's books and old toys, something stopped her cold. A flicker of teal beneath the sunlight. Her heart stuttered. No, it couldn't be. She moved closer, each step heavier than the last. There, sitting casually among forgotten trinkets, was a teal Game Boy, Her hands trembled as she picked it up. 3 small stickers adorned the front. A Pikachu in the center, 2 others beside it, perfectly placed by a little boy's careful hands. "Nathan," she whispered, the name escaping her like a prayer she'd been holding for a decade. The world around her blurred, the laughter, the chatter, all of it fading into a deafening silence. Because in that single fragile moment, she knew this wasn't coincidence. This was her son's Game Boy, the one that vanished with him 10 years ago. Donna's voice broke through the tension, soft but alarmed. "Elaine, what is it?" Elaine's fingers tightened around the small teal Game Boy, her voice trembling as she spoke, yet carrying the unmistakable edge of recognition. "This is Nathan's," she said, her eyes glistening. "It's his Game Boy. Look at these stickers. Pikachu in the middle, 2 others on the sides. He placed them himself. He loved Pokemon more than anything." Her mind raced with images. Nathan on the couch, legs crossed, humming while he played. Her pleading with him not to sneak it into school. It had been a gift from his best friend for his 7th birthday, a symbol of innocent joy now twisted into something haunting. "Are you sure?" Donna asked quietly, as if afraid of the answer. "I'm 100% sure," Elaine whispered. "No one else could have arranged these stickers exactly like this. This is his." Before Donna could respond, a voice interrupted them. "Can I help you, ladies?" An elderly man with a kind, weathered face approached from behind the table. His polite smile faded instantly when he saw Elaine's pale, tear-streaked face and shaking hands. Elaine turned toward him, her voice cracking. "Where did you get this?" The man blinked, startled. "Excuse me? This Game Boy," she said, clutching it like it was the last piece of her soul. "It belongs to my son, my missing son. Please, tell me where you got it. Do you know where he is?" Her plea trembled through the air, raw and desperate. The surrounding chatter faded into uneasy murmurs as shoppers stopped to watch. The man hesitated, his friendly expression shifting into something uneasy, then fearful. I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered, stepping back. He snatched the Game Boy from her trembling hands and shoved it into his jacket pocket. "None!" Elaine's voice rose, panic overtaking her reason. "That's my son's! Why are you hiding it?" Donna reached for her friend's arm, trying to steady her. "Ayla, please, calm down," she urged softly. But Elaine's grief had built for a decade, and now it erupted uncontrollably. "Tell me where my boy is," she cried, her knees buckling beneath her. Gasps rippled through the crowd as she collapsed onto the pavement, shaking and sobbing. "I'm calling the police," the elderly man muttered, fumbling for his phone. Within minutes, the wail of a siren split the air. A patrol car pulled up, and a young officer stepped out, scanning the tense scene. "What's happening here?" he asked. The man spoke quickly, his voice defensive. "Officer, this woman started yelling, saying the Game Boy I'm selling belongs to her missing son. She has no proof. She tried to take it from me." The officer nodded curtly. "Sir, may I see the item in question?" The man folded his arms. "No, you may not. This is my property. I know my rights." The officer's tone hardened. "Sir, I'm asking you to cooperate. That device may be related to an ongoing investigation." "I know my rights," the man repeated sharply, shielding his jacket pocket. Meanwhile, Elaine, still on the ground with Donna's arm wrapped protectively around her, lifted her tear-streaked face toward the officer. "Please," she begged, her voice raw. "Call Detective Morrison. He worked on my son's case. Nathan Whitmore. He vanished 10 years ago." The officer's expression shifted as he recognized the name. He spoke quickly into his radio, requesting backup and contact with the detective. Minutes later, 2 more police cruisers arrived, followed by an unmarked sedan. The door opened, and out stepped Detective Richard Morrison, a man with silver hair, a steady gaze, and the weight of old cases in his eyes. He had spent years chasing ghosts for families like Elaine's. But when his eyes met hers, he immediately knew who she was. "Mrs. Whitmore," he said gently, his voice carrying both familiarity and regret. "Tell me what happened. What's going on?" Detective Morrison's calm but commanding voice cut through the tense crowd. Elaine pointed toward the trembling old man, her voice cracking with urgency. "The Game Boy! He has Nathan's Game Boy! The blue one with 3 Pokémon stickers!" The detective's expression hardened immediately. He turned to face the man. "Sir, I'm Detective Richard Morrison. I've worked the Nathan Whitmore case for 10 years. The boy disappeared when he was 8. He'd be 18 now." Morrison opened the worn leather folder he always carried for cold cases, the kind that still haunted him. Inside were photos of a smiling child holding a teal Game Boy decorated with 3 familiar stickers, Pikachu at the center, 2 others on the sides. "We documented every personal item that vanished with him," Morrison continued evenly. "This one included. I'm going to need to see that device." The old man stiffened, his eyes narrowing. Before he could respond, one of the uniformed officers standing nearby squinted, recognition dawning on his face. "Wait a second. Isn't that Sergeant Walter Griggs from the Ash Hollow precinct?" The man's posture shifted slightly, pride flickering behind his nervousness. "You served this town for years, sir," the officer said carefully. "You know the drill." For a long moment, Walter said nothing. Then, with obvious reluctance, he reached into his jacket and produced the teal Game Boy. Detective Morrison accepted it like a sacred object, turning it over in his gloved hands. The resemblance was undeniable. The same scuffs, the same fading stickers, the same faint scratch near the battery cover. Morrison glanced up. "Where did you get this, Mr. Griggs?" Walter's reply came too fast. "I bought it at a flea market, years ago." Elaine's composure snapped. "That's a lie," she shouted, still clinging to Donna for balance. "You know something, don't you? You know where my son is." "Ma'am," Morrison cautioned softly, holding up a hand. But Elaine's words had already stirred the crowd again. Walter's jaw tightened, his eyes darting nervously toward the waiting officers. "Mr. Griggs," Morrison said firmly, "we'll need to search your property." Walter exhaled sharply through his nose. "Fine," he muttered. "Do what you have to do, but that woman stays off my land." His tone carried both authority and something else. Fear, perhaps, buried deep beneath years of practiced calm. Within minutes, the small caravan of vehicles moved out. Morrison personally helped Elaine and Donna into his unmarked sedan, while Walter led the way in his own truck, police cruisers trailing behind like silent sentinels. As the short drive unfolded, Elaine's heart pounded in her chest. 10 years of empty birthdays and sleepless nights, all leading to this moment. Could this finally be the break she'd prayed for? Or just another cruel, false dawn in a decade of heartbreak? The convoy stopped in front of a modest 2-story house, its white siding reflecting the dying light of evening. The black shutters were neatly painted, the lawn meticulously trimmed, a picture of suburban order that revealed nothing of the storm brewing inside. "Wait here," Morrison instructed, his voice low but firm. Elaine nodded numbly as officers filed toward the house, flashlights cutting across the porch. Through the windshield, she and Donna watched as shadows moved through the windows. Slow, deliberate sweeps of disciplined searchers combing through closets and corners. Time dragged. 30 minutes. 45. Nearly an hour. The golden sky dimmed to a bruised twilight, and the house lights flickered faintly against the darkening horizon. Elaine's hands were clasped tightly in her lap. Donna reached over, squeezing them gently. "It's going to be okay," she whispered, though her tone carried no real conviction. Elaine said nothing. Her eyes were fixed on the front door, willing it to open, praying that this time, finally, someone would step out with an answer. When the door did open, Detective Morrison's face told her everything before he even spoke. He walked up to the car, weary but composed, and leaned down to the window. "We found nothing," he said quietly. "No sign that a child ever lived there. No evidence of anyone else having been on the property." Elaine's breath hitched as the words sank in. 10 years of longing, 10 years of hoping, and still nothing. The Game Boy that had reignited her hope now sat in an evidence bag, silent as the day Nathan disappeared. Detective Morrison flipped open his case folder, the paper edges worn from years of revisiting the same heartbreak. "Mrs. Whitmore," he began quietly. "Walter Griggs checks out. Retired police sergeant, decorated service record, 30 years on the force. Commendations, no disciplinary actions. He's well respected in this town." Officer Chen, young, earnest, and clearly uncomfortable, stepped forward. "Ma'am," he said, choosing his words carefully, "I worked with Mr. Griggs before he retired. Everyone here knew him as honorable. It's hard to imagine he'd ever hurt a child." Elaine's voice wavered, barely above a whisper. "Then how do you explain this?" She gestured to the sealed evidence bag holding the teal Game Boy, her eyes fierce with disbelief. "Those stickers, there's no mistaking them. That's Nathan's." Morrison exhaled heavily. "I understand, but without physical proof, DNA, fingerprints, we can't connect it directly to your son. The device's condition suggests it's changed hands many times." The words hit her like a slow, cruel echo of every conversation she'd had over the past decade. No proof, no leads, no closure. They stepped outside toward Walter's front porch, where he stood like a man wronged by the world, arms folded, jaw tight, a shadow of smugness flickering behind his calm. "Mr. Griggs," Morrison said, professional but firm, "we'd like your consent to keep the Game Boy as evidence." Walter waved dismissively. "Take it. I was going to sell it anyway." His gaze hardened as it met Elaine's. "You could have bought it instead of accusing me of something vile." Elaine straightened her shoulders, her grief now tempered by quiet defiance. "That Game Boy belongs to my son. I don't have to buy what's already ours." Morrison stepped between them, his tone neutral but probing. "Mr. Griggs, when and where did you acquire this item?" Walter hesitated, rubbing his temple as if searching for the right answer. I don't remember exactly. A flea market, maybe. I bought it for my..." He faltered. A heartbeat passed. "For my niece." The stumble was subtle, but Elaine caught it instantly. He hadn't meant to say niece. The word that almost escaped his mouth had been son. Her pulse quickened, but she forced herself to stay calm. She glanced at Morrison, and their eyes met. He'd caught it too. The detective's expression didn't change, but the flicker of awareness there was enough to steady her. "Mrs. Whitmore," Morrison said softly, breaking the silence. "Please come down to the station to make a formal statement. We'll continue from there." Elaine nodded, turning to Donna. Her friend's eyes were glossy with worry. "I'll be okay," Elaine whispered. "Call me later." Donna pulled her into a quick hug. "Anything you need, I'm right here." As the cruiser pulled away, Elaine looked back through the window. Walter still stood on his porch, speaking quietly with the other officers, his figure backlit by the dying light of sunset. Something about the way he watched them leave made her skin crawl. The Ash Hollow Police Department came into view. A modest brick building, the same place she had once pinned missing person flyers, the same walls that had absorbed her cries 10 years earlier. Inside, everything smelled of stale coffee and old paperwork. The officer guiding her led Elaine into a small interview room, sterile and windowless. The clack of the keyboard filled the silence as she gave her statement, recounting each painful detail of the afternoon. By the time she signed the final page, her hand ached from the effort. But one thought lingered, refusing to fade. "I want to see the Game Boy again," she said suddenly. The officer hesitated but nodded and made a quick call. Minutes later, a young forensic technician entered, a woman with kind, perceptive eyes. She carried the device sealed in a clear evidence bag. "We can take a closer look together," she said gently. In the lab, the hum of fluorescent lights filled the air. The technician carefully opened the bag, inserted 2 fresh AA batteries, and pressed the power button. The familiar ding of the startup chime pierced the stillness. Elaine gasped. "It still works," the technician murmured, tilting the screen toward her. "And there's a cartridge inside." She slid the game free and squinted at the faded label. Elaine leaned forward, her heart pounding as old memories clawed their way back. The title was smudged, but she didn't need to read it to know. It was the same one Nathan had played every night before bed, the one he refused to turn off until she reminded him it was a school night. "That's Nathan's," Elaine breathed, her voice trembling as she stared at the faded game cartridge in the technician's gloved hands. "It's his favorite game. He took it everywhere." She looked up at the faces around her, the detective, the technician, the officers standing silently nearby, and felt desperation rising in her chest. "Surely you can trace something from this, right? A fingerprint, a clue, anything?" Detective Morrison, now standing beside her, spoke with the measured calm of a man who had seen too many shattered hopes. "Mrs. Whitmore, there are countless ways this could have ended up with Mr. Griggs. Maybe Nathan dropped it somewhere, and it changed hands over the years. These devices are practically indestructible." "It's been 10 years, Elaine whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of time. 10 years without a single real lead, and now this. You can't tell me it means nothing." The young forensic technician, her tone gentle but honest, placed a hand on Elaine's shoulder. "We'll do everything we can. We'll test for prints, time stamps, maybe trace any residual DNA, but after so many years, the chances are slim. Too many people have handled it." Elaine nodded, though her expression said otherwise. She couldn't let herself believe this was just coincidence. She watched as they sealed the Game Boy back inside an evidence bag, treating it like an artifact of a lost era, when, to her, it was so much more. It was the last piece of Nathan she could touch. Detective Morrison closed his notebook softly. "You've done enough for today, Mrs. Whitmore. You should go home and rest. I'll assign an officer to drive you." Elaine hesitated, her exhaustion pressing down like a weight she couldn't fight. "Yes," she murmured, defeated. "Thank you." The ride back through Maple Hollow was quiet. The officer at the wheel tried to make small talk about the weather, about the autumn fair coming up, but Elaine barely heard him. Her thoughts circled the same haunting loop. He almost said, "son." Walter Griggs had hesitated. That one fleeting slip, that single pause, echoed in her mind like a warning she couldn't ignore. And the Game Boy, those 3 little stickers, the ones Nathan had carefully aligned on the front, his tongue poking out as he focused. How could that belong to anyone else? The cruiser pulled up to her modest home, and the officer gave her a sympathetic smile. "Here we are, ma'am." Elaine thanked him softly and stepped out into the cool evening air. The house looked exactly as it had that morning, still, silent, frozen in time. Once the door closed behind her, the silence pressed in. Exhaustion hit her like a wave, forcing her to steady herself against the wall. Her limbs felt heavy as she walked to the kitchen, every step dragging with the weight of the day. She filled the kettle, turned on the stove, and sank into a chair while waiting for the water to boil. The quiet hum of the burner filled the room, but her mind wouldn't stop racing. What was supposed to be a simple outing with Donna had spiraled into chaos. She could still feel the eyes of strangers from the yard sale, watching her fall apart, whispering about the grieving mother accusing a retired cop. "Did I go too far?" she thought. "Did I make everything worse?" The kettle whistled sharply, pulling her from her thoughts. She poured the steaming water over a tea bag and watched the color swirl and deepen, the way her hope had earlier that day. Bright, then fading. She took a sip, but the warmth barely reached her. Restless, she reached for the phone and dialed Donna's number. "Ella?" Donna's voice came through on the second ring, worried but steady. "Are you okay? What happened at the station?" Elaine ignored the question, her tone suddenly alert. "Are you still at the yard sale?" "Yes," Donna said slowly. "I was just about to leave." "Why?" Elaine's heart began to race again. There was something about Walter Griggs she couldn't shake, something that wouldn't let her rest. "Why?" Donna asked, her voice low but wary. "Elaine, please tell me you're not planning to confront that man again." "Not confront," Elaine said quickly. I feel awful. I humiliated him in front of everyone. I shouldn't have made such a scene. I just want to apologize, clear the air, that's all." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Donna asked softly. "Please," Elaine urged, her tone almost pleading. "I need to do this." Donna sighed, the kind of sigh that carried both love and resignation. "All right, I'll pick you up." True to her word, Donna's car pulled up 10 minutes later. Elaine climbed in, clutching her purse like it could steady her racing heart. The afternoon sun had shifted, stretching long shadows across the quiet streets of Maple Hollow. The world seemed calm again, too calm after the storm of that morning. As they drove toward Lavender Grove, the air between them hung heavy with unspoken worry. "You don't owe him anything," Donna said after a moment. "He treated you terribly." "Maybe," Elaine murmured, staring out the window. "But what if I overreacted? What if it really was just coincidence?" When they arrived, the once bustling yard sale was nearly over. Tables were half empty, boxes packed, and the laughter from earlier had faded into the lazy hum of late afternoon. "Looks like it's wrapping up," Donna said, easing the car into a spot along the curb. Elaine checked her watch. 3 o'clock. "Perfect timing," she muttered, though her pulse had quickened. Across the lot, Walter Griggs stood by his car, slamming boxes into his trunk with sharp, angry movements. Even from a distance, his agitation was obvious, his jaw set, his shoulders tight. "Elaine," Donna said carefully, "you don't have to do this." "I do," Elaine said, her voice steadier than she felt. They approached slowly, their footsteps crunching on gravel. Walter noticed them instantly. His face darkened like a storm rolling in. "What now?" he snapped. "Haven't you caused enough trouble for one day?" Elaine took a breath and forced herself to meet his glare. "I came to apologize," she said softly. "I shouldn't have accused you like that. I was overwhelmed. I'm sorry." Walter stared at her for a long, tense moment, his eyes cold and assessing. Finally, he exhaled through his nose. "You made quite a scene this morning," he said flatly. "I hope the neighbors don't think I'm some kind of monster. I've lived here for decades without this kind of nonsense." "I understand," Elaine replied quietly. "Truly, I didn't mean to bring you any trouble." Walter slammed the trunk closed, the sound startling in the still air. "Good," he said shortly. "Then we're done here." He turned and walked off toward his table to collect the last of his things, leaving Elaine and Donna standing beside his car. They walked back to their own vehicle in silence. "Well," Donna said finally as they sat inside, "you tried. That's what matters." Elaine was about to respond when a green Volkswagen Beetle, a bright, almost playful shade that clashed with the muted suburban backdrop, pulled up beside Walter's car. The driver, a man in his late 20s or early 30s, stepped out. He had Walter's eyes, that same piercing blue, but his movements were restless, his energy unpredictable. "That's interesting," Donna murmured. The women watched as Walter, now back at his car, thrust a heavy box toward the younger man. The exchange was far from friendly. Walter's voice was low but harsh, his gestures sharp with frustration. The box wasn't sealed, and when it hit the ground, several items spilled out. Colorful game cards, small toy cars, and what looked like an old handheld console case. The younger man crouched, gathering them quickly, his hands trembling. Donna rolled her window down just a few inches. A breeze carried pieces of their conversation across the lot. "I don't care," Walter barked. "They're not mine." Another gust caught fragments of the next words. "Be honest with me, for your mother's sake, then leave." The younger man shook his head violently, muttering something inaudible before storming off toward the Volkswagen. He tossed the box into the passenger seat, slammed the door, and sped away without looking back. Elaine and Donna exchanged a look, part confusion, part unease. "What do you think that was about?" Elaine whispered. Donna frowned. I don't know, but he sure looked upset. Walter, meanwhile, continued packing as if nothing had happened, methodical and expressionless. But the tension in his movements said otherwise. Elaine couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just witnessed something important, something connected. "Who was that man?" she murmured. Donna didn't answer. She didn't need to. The same thought hung unspoken between them. That younger man wasn't just anyone. He was family. And in Elaine's gut, a new kind of fear began to take root, one that told her this story was far from over. "Maybe that was his son," Elaine said softly, her mind still processing what she'd just seen. "I heard him mention something about mother." Donna nodded, her brows knitting. "I thought the same. But why just one box? And why did it look like it was full of toys?" Elaine's eyes narrowed, replaying the scene in her mind. If those were his childhood things, then the Game Boy could have been his too. Maybe he's the connection. Maybe Nathan's Game Boy ended up with him somehow. Her pulse quickened as the pieces began to fit together, too neatly to be coincidence. She turned toward Donna, her voice urgent now. "We need to talk to him. He might know something." Donna shot her a skeptical look. "Follow him? Elaine, we're not detectives. We can't just trail someone around town. Besides, that car's already gone." "Please," Elaine pleaded, her voice breaking. "I can't let this go. What if this is finally something real? If we tell the police now, they'll think I'm chasing ghosts again." Donna hesitated, her fingers drumming on the steering wheel. She'd seen that look in Elaine's eyes before, the same desperate spark she had when she refused to give up on Nathan years ago. "Fine," she said at last with a resigned sigh. "We'll follow him, but carefully. If we catch up, we just talk. We don't cause trouble, and we don't go anywhere we shouldn't." "Yes," Elaine said quickly, her relief spilling out in a rush. "Thank you, Donna. Thank you so much." Donna started the car, merging back into traffic. The green Volkswagen wasn't hard to spot. It stood out like a toy among the dull gray sedans. She kept a safe distance, just far enough to avoid suspicion. The car's bright paint glinted in the sunlight, a taunting beacon pulling them forward. "There," Elaine whispered, pointing. "He's turning." They watched as the Volkswagen's blinker flashed before it pulled into a parking lot beside a small, black-painted building trimmed in purple. Even from the road, the windows gleamed with orange lights and Halloween displays. Skeletons, masks, jack-o'-lanterns. A hand-painted sign read, "Dark Delights Party Emporium." "Of course," Donna muttered. "A Halloween store? That's odd." She tried to turn, but traffic boxed her in. "Damn it, I missed it. Hang on, I'll find a spot to turn around." "It's okay," Elaine said quickly, twisting in her seat to keep the store in view as they drove past. "Just don't lose sight of it." Donna drove another quarter-mile before making a careful U-turn, then headed back toward the store. "Hopefully he's still there," she said, her tone half prayer, half worry. As they neared the parking lot again, Elaine's heart leapt, then plummeted. The man was already leaving, moving briskly toward his car with 2 large shopping bags swinging from his hands. Before Donna could react, the Volkswagen screeched backward out of its parking space. "Whoa!" Donna slammed on the brakes, tires squealing. The Volkswagen shot past them, missing their bumper by inches. "What the hell?" Donna shouted, gripping the wheel. "Who drives like that? He didn't even look!" Elaine's pulse was hammering in her ears. "He's getting away!" "Unbelievable," Donna muttered, shifting gears and pulling back into traffic. "All right, let's see where this guy's headed." They followed again, but this time the Volkswagen moved faster, darting between lanes, pushing the limits of safety. Donna kept her distance, refusing to risk another close call. "He's driving like someone's chasing him," Elaine said, clutching the door handle. "Maybe he noticed us. Or maybe he's just that reckless," Donna replied, eyes fixed on the road. Then, ahead of them, came the low clang of warning bells. The lights at a railroad crossing began to flash red. "Oh no!" Elaine gasped as the Volkswagen accelerated, slipping between the descending barriers just as they slammed shut. Donna hit the brakes hard. The car jolted to a stop. A long freight train thundered past, its metallic roar drowning everything else. Elaine sat frozen, watching through the windshield as the green car disappeared beyond the other side. "Damn it," she whispered. The endless line of train cars clattered by, each one stretching out her frustration, each one another second lost. Donna exhaled, her hands tight on the steering wheel. "Well," she said grimly, "that's one way to lose a lead." Car after car thundered past, each one dragging time out like a cruel test of patience. The rumble of the freight train filled the air, shaking the ground beneath them. "It's a long one," Donna muttered, tapping the steering wheel in rhythm with the clattering rails. Neither woman spoke again. They both knew it. The longer the train, the farther that green Volkswagen was getting. By the time the last car finally disappeared down the track and the barriers lifted, the sun had already dipped lower, painting the horizon with streaks of orange and pink. Donna pressed the accelerator, and the car leapt forward across the tracks. They scanned both sides of the road for any sign of that bright green beetle, but it was gone. Up ahead, the road split three ways. One path leading into downtown Maple Hollow, another out toward the rural outskirts, and a third that wound into the forest beyond the ridge. Donna slowed to a stop. "Which way?" Elaine shook her head helplessly. "I don't know. We've lost him." Donna pulled over, shifting the car into park. "I'm sorry, Elaine. Between the train and that intersection, there was no chance." Elaine leaned back in her seat, letting out a long, defeated breath. "It's okay. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe we just got caught up in the moment." She looked out the window where the sky was deepening to amber. "We should head back before it gets dark." Donna nodded, turning the car around. "We'll tell the police what we saw. That man looked like Walter's son. They can handle it from here." They drove back in silence, the tires humming softly against the asphalt. As they passed Dark Delight's Party Emporium again, Elaine's eyes lingered on it. The purple trim glowed faintly under the fading light, and the giant sale banner flapped in the wind. "Maybe we should check that store," she said suddenly. "Why?" Donna asked, glancing sideways. "What could we possibly find in there?" But her gaze followed Elaine's to the banner, and she hesitated. "Actually, my niece's birthday is coming up, and Halloween's in, 3 weeks? We could at least make this trip count." Elaine smiled faintly, a sad echo of her old warmth. "If Nathan were still here, he'd love that place. He always went all out for Halloween." Donna managed a small smile of her own. "Then let's go in, for both of them." She turned into the parking lot and found an empty spot. The glowing sign above the entrance read Dark Delight's Party Emporium in dripping purple letters that seemed to shimmer as the light shifted. A young man sat on the curb, smoking a cigarette. He looked up and raised it in greeting. "Welcome! I'll be right in to help you, ladies," he called, his tone casual and friendly. Elaine and Donna nodded politely and stepped inside. The door's heavy glass swung shut behind them with a dull thud, sealing them into a world that looked straight out of a horror movie. The air smelled faintly of rubber and synthetic fog. Rows of costumes stretched into the distance. Vampires, zombies, skeletons, even elaborate latex creatures that looked disturbingly lifelike. From the ceiling, masks hung like floating faces, their hollow eyes watching every movement. "Wow," Donna said, picking up a bottle of fake blood from a display. "They really take Halloween seriously here." "Yeah," Elaine murmured, scanning the aisles. Her thoughts were elsewhere, back on that young man in the Volkswagen, the one who had left this place in such a hurry. What had been so important here? They browsed for a while. Donna laughed when an animatronic ghoul suddenly lunged from a corner display, complete with shrieking sound effects and a puff of fog. "This place is intense," Elaine said with a small chuckle, though her eyes betrayed her distraction. Eventually, Donna found a witch costume made of deep purple fabric dotted with silver stars. "This is perfect," she said, holding it up with a grin. "My niece is going to love it." They made their way to the cashier counter, but the young employee was still outside finishing his cigarette, taking his time. Through the window, they could see him scrolling on his phone. Donna placed the costume on the counter inside. "I'll go grab him before he burns through another one of those." But as she turned to leave, the silky fabric of the costume slipped off the edge. It fell behind the counter, landing with a soft flutter out of sight, onto the cashier's workspace. "Ugh, hang on," Donna muttered, moving to go around the counter. But Elaine, curious and absent-minded, leaned over slightly to peek at where it had fallen, and froze. "Just leave it, Elaine," Donna said, heading toward the door. "I'll get him." But Elaine, ever the polite one, and maybe driven by something deeper, couldn't ignore it. "It's fine," she murmured, leaning over the counter. Her fingers brushed the fallen costume, its silky fabric half draped across a laptop keyboard. The screen flickered with the bluish glow of a paused video. As Elaine reached to lift the costume, her hand accidentally pressed a key. The video started playing. The footage was grainy, shaky, clearly shot on an old webcam or phone. The image showed a dim forest at night, the camera weaving through trees lit by a flickering flashlight. The sound of footsteps and low laughter filled the air. Then suddenly, a man's face came into frame, close enough that his breath fogged the lens. "What do you think?" he asked in a raspy voice. The clip cut off abruptly. Elaine's stomach tightened. Even through the pixelation, she recognized that face, the same young man from the yard sale parking lot. Walter Griggs' son. The front door chimed. Donna returned with the store clerk in tow, his expression sour and impatient. "Sorry for the wait," he muttered, stubbing out his cigarette as he stepped behind the counter. But when he saw Elaine standing there, his tone sharpened. "What are you doing back here?" Elaine straightened quickly, hands raised slightly in apology. "I wasn't snooping. The costume slipped behind the counter. I was just grabbing it." The clerk brushed past her, moving straight for the laptop. "Did you touch anything?" he asked sharply, color rising in his face. "Accidentally," Elaine said. "Your video started playing. I saw a man, the same one who came here earlier, the one with the green Volkswagen. Who is he?" The clerk froze for a fraction of a second, just long enough for Elaine to notice. "Which guy?" he asked too quickly, his voice tight. His hand darted to the mouse, trying to close the window, but he fumbled, revealing another screen beneath it. For a split second, Elaine saw a Yahoo Messenger group chat open on the desktop. The group's title flashed across the top, "Scary Fun Party." Her breath caught when she spotted a name glowing in the chat list. Nathan, highlighted in bold, surrounded by colorful, old-school emoticons. Her pulse stopped cold. "You were really snooping," the clerk snapped, slamming the laptop shut. "You had no right to look at that. I could call the police on you." "No, please, listen." Elaine stepped closer, her voice breaking. "My son, my little boy, his name was Nathan. He's been missing for 10 years. Why is that name in your chat? Who is he?" The clerk scoffed, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. "Lady, you're crazy. Nathan's a common name. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a party group, okay? I run events for Halloween. You need to leave." Elaine's eyes burned with frustration. "I saw that man's face in your video, the same man from earlier. The one who took that box from Walter Griggs. What were you filming in the woods? What was that?" Donna stepped forward, her tone calm but firm. "Sir, please. You clearly know who we're talking about. That man. He might be connected to a missing person case that the police reopened this morning." The clerk's face drained of color. His hands shook as he tried to busy himself, closing drawers and moving items that didn't need moving. I don't know what you're talking about. I just sell stuff here. That's it." Elaine leaned in, her voice low and trembling. "If you're hiding something, now's the time to tell us. You knew him. I could see it on your face. You were talking to him online. What did you mean when you said Nathan?" Donna's eyes darted between them, tension thickening in the air. "Because," she added pointedly, "the man you're protecting, His father is already under investigation. And if you know something about what happened to Nathan Whitmore, now's your chance to do the right thing." The clerk swallowed hard, sweat beading on his forehead. His bravado cracked. I don't know anything, okay?" he stammered, his voice barely holding steady. Just leave." But Elaine could see it, the flicker of fear behind his eyes. He knew exactly who that man was. And worse, he knew exactly what the name Nathan meant. "Now, we have something real," Detective Morrison said, his tone sharp but controlled. "We'll need to alert the authorities about this video and that chat message immediately." The clerk's resolve crumbled. His hands shot up as if to ward off invisible consequences. "Please, no cops," he stammered, his voice trembling. "I don't want trouble with the police. The guy's name is Derek. He's hosting a Halloween party at his family's property. The chat isn't anything criminal, I swear. We were just talking about setups, props, lighting, scary stuff." He reached for the laptop again, his fingers shaking as he opened it. "Look, I only sold him some gear, costumes, fog machines, a few animatronics. That's all. Please don't call the police. I'm on probation for a shoplifting charge from a couple years back. If my boss finds out, I'm done for." Elaine and Donna exchanged a tense glance, but leaned over to look at the screen. The Yahoo Messenger chat reopened, the neon-colored text glowing faintly against the black background. A few usernames filled the window, one of them Derek G88. Another line caught Elaine's eye. "Got everything ready for Nathan's surprise tonight. Make sure the strobe is strong enough for full effect. Top-tier visuals only." A chill swept through her. "A surprise for Nathan?" she whispered. Donna pulled out her notepad and quickly scribbled down the address mentioned in the chat. "So, you have to be friends to get invited to this party, huh?" she asked, her voice level but probing. "Yeah," the clerk admitted weakly. "He only invites people he knows, but I swear I didn't know anything about a missing boy. I just thought it was some kind of horror event." "Thank you," Elaine said softly but firmly. "You did the right thing. Now I need to tell the police." "Please," the clerk begged, stepping forward, desperation etched across his face. "Don't. If they find out I've been talking to them, I'll lose my job. I've been trying to stay clean. This job is part of my rehab program. If I lose it, I could go back to jail." Donna glanced at him with sympathy, but stayed firm. "If you've done nothing wrong, you'll be fine. But if there's even a chance this is connected to Nathan, we can't ignore it." Elaine didn't wait another second. Her fingers trembled as she pulled out her phone and dialed. "This is Elaine Whitmore," she said when the dispatcher answered. Her voice was steadier than she felt. "I need to report new evidence in my missing son's case. I found a video clip and a group chat mentioning his name, Nathan, and an address tied to a man named Derek. Something's happening there tonight." She relayed everything: the store, the clerk, the footage, the chat, and the address. Within 15 minutes, the faint hum of distant sirens grew into a wailing chorus. Red and blue lights painted the parking lot as police cruisers pulled up outside Dark Delight's Party Emporium. Officers poured into the store, their radios crackling. The young clerk went pale, clutching the edge of the counter like it was his last anchor to reality. Detective Morrison entered a moment later, his expression grave but calm. Elaine moved toward him instantly, relief and urgency colliding in her chest. "Detective, I saw the video myself. It was him, Derek. He's the one from earlier, and there was a chat message about my son's name. I think they're connected." Morrison nodded as officers began questioning the clerk nearby. "You did the right thing calling us," he said. "If this Derek person is involved, we'll find out tonight." Elaine glanced toward the trembling clerk. "He's scared," she said quietly. "He's helping us, even if he's terrified to admit it." Morrison followed her gaze, his tone softening. "We'll take that into account. He may have more to tell once he realizes we're not here to ruin him." An officer hurried over holding Donna's notepad. "Sir, this is the address mentioned in the chat. It's just outside town, near the woods by Old Creek Road." Another officer, phone to his ear, called out, "We've reached Walter Griggs, sir. He confirms Derek is his son. Elaine's breath caught, her stomach twisting. Let's move, Morrison said, already striding toward the exit. Elaine, Donna, you're with me. They climbed into the detective's unmarked car as the convoy of patrol vehicles roared to life behind them. The radio crackled with the dispatcher's voice, steady but urgent. Detective Morrison, confirmation received. Subject Derek Griggs is the registered tenant of the property at that location. Morrison's jaw tightened. Copy that, he said, flicking on the siren. Elaine gripped the door handle, her pulse pounding. After 10 long years of searching, she was finally closing in on the truth, one that might be waiting for her in the shadows of those woods. Walter Griggs's voice came through the radio, tense but steady. Yes, that address belongs to me, he admitted. It's our old vacation property, hasn't been used in years. The place is falling apart. I didn't know Derek was out there. Last I heard, he was renting an apartment in town. Copy that, Detective Morrison replied, his tone clipped. He exchanged a look with Elaine that said everything. Walter might not have known, but something about this situation didn't sit right. The drive took them far from the comfort of Maple Hollow's neat suburban grid and into the kind of isolation that swallowed sound. The sun was sinking low, bleeding orange and violet across the horizon as the road narrowed into gravel, then dirt. The trees on either side grew thicker, their branches like skeletal arms closing in on the fading light. Finally, the convoy turned onto a rutted lane, barely wide enough for one car. Up ahead, through the trees, a small cottage emerged, a hollow shell of a house, its windows boarded and roof half collapsed. Weeds climbed the porch steps, and rusted garden tools lay forgotten in the overgrowth. The sight made Elaine's skin crawl. The place radiated neglect, and something worse, secrecy. There, she whispered, pointing through the windshield. The Volkswagen. The green car sat crooked in the dirt, its driver's door hanging open. A few other vehicles were parked nearby, an old pickup, a white van, and a pair of motorcycles. But where are the people? Donna asked under her breath. The police cars stopped in formation, their headlights cutting through the dusk. Officers exited swiftly, flashlights drawn, weapons at the ready. Morrison turned to Elaine and Donna. Stay in the car, he ordered firmly, no matter what happens. But Elaine couldn't. Not when, for the first time in a decade, she might be standing on the edge of truth. She opened her door quietly. Elaine, Donna hissed, but followed anyway, unable to leave her friend alone. They kept their distance as the officers advanced toward the cottage. The front door hung slightly ajar, swaying in the breeze. Police! One officer shouted. Is anyone inside? Silence. Then, the groan of the door as it creaked open. The first officers stepped in, flashlights sweeping across peeling wallpaper and dusty furniture. The smell hit them immediately, mildew, rot, and damp wood. Elaine and Donna slipped inside behind them, ignoring Morrison's command. The air was thick and stale. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like torn curtains, and every step on the warped floorboards made the house sigh. Then Elaine froze. Do you hear that? She whispered. It was faint at first, voices, laughter, and the unmistakable thump of music. The sound came from behind the cottage, beyond the broken windows that looked out toward the woods. The nearest officer raised his hand, signaling for silence. He motioned toward the back door. Stay here, he told Elaine firmly. Do not move from this spot, for your safety and the integrity of this investigation. Elaine hesitated but nodded, watching as the officers moved out through the back, their flashlights cutting pale beams into the darkening forest. The laughter grew louder. It wasn't the carefree sound of joy. It was strained, manic, echoing between the trees. Then came screams, at first playful, then real. The sudden blare of police voices shattered the night. Police! Hands in the air! Music cut off mid-beat. A chorus of shouts followed, confusion turning quickly to panic. Through the open back door, Elaine could hear chaos erupting. Orders barked, people crying out, footsteps crashing through dry leaves. The radio on an officer's shoulder crackled to life. "Multiple subjects detained, requesting backup in a medical unit. Repeat, medical unit." Elaine's heart raced. Her legs felt like they might give out. An officer appeared from the hallway and gently but firmly guided her and Donna outside. "Ma'am, you both need to wait by the cruisers, please." They stumbled out into the cool night air, standing near the flashing red and blue lights. The woods beyond the cottage were now alive with movement. Then, emerging from the trees, came a line of figures. 5 men, escorted by officers, stumbling forward under the glare of flashlights. Each one was dressed in gruesome zombie costumes, latex flesh hanging from their faces, bones painted across their skin, fake blood glistening in the light. But there was something disturbingly real about the terror in their eyes. The police forced them to kneel, reading them their rights as handcuffs clicked into place. Elaine scanned the faces, and her breath caught. Derek, the man from the yard sale, the one who had sped away. His eyes locked onto hers, confusion and anger burning there. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice hoarse and defiant. Elaine stepped forward, her voice trembling but steady. "I'm the mother of the boy you might know as Nathan." For the first time, Derek's bravado cracked. His jaw tightened, his eyes darting to Detective Morrison, then to the woods behind him, as if afraid of what might come next. The silence that followed was deafening. The air was thick with the weight of something about to break. "You didn't know anything," Derek snarled, his voice filled with venom. "You ruined everything." Elaine took a trembling step forward, ignoring the officer's outstretched arm, trying to hold her back. "I'm Nathan's mother," she said, her voice rising with years of buried grief and rage. "And I think you're the man who took my son." Derek spat on the ground, his defiance cracking into bitterness. "We were just having fun," he said coldly. "You don't know what you're talking about." The officers moved quickly, pinning him back against the cruiser as handcuffs snapped into place. "You'll explain that at the station," one of them said, hauling him and the others toward the waiting vehicles. Red and blue lights strobed across Derek's face, his sneer twisting into something almost haunted as the car door slammed shut. Elaine stood motionless, the night spinning around her. Then, an officer hurried toward her, his expression urgent. "Ma'am," he said, slightly out of breath, "we found a young man in the woods. He says his name is Nathan. He won't come out. He's terrified, and he keeps talking about zombies. We need your help." For a moment, Elaine's mind went blank. Nathan. Her Nathan. The name hit her like a physical blow. Her knees weakened, and Donna caught her arm before she could fall. "Go," Donna urged, her eyes shining. "Go get your son." Elaine didn't need another word. She followed the officer into the darkness, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. The forest closed around them, the smell of damp earth and smoke thick in the air. 50 yards in, they found him, crouched by a dying campfire, its embers glowing faintly against the night. He was rocking back and forth, his hands clamped over his head, mumbling to himself in a trembling voice. "You're all zombies. You're going to kill me. I should have stayed down there. I should have listened." Elaine's heart broke. His jeans were soaked with fear, his body rigid and shaking. This wasn't madness. This was terror, raw and primal. No one watching could mistake it for anything else. She took a step forward, then another, lowering herself to her knees beside him. "Nathan," she whispered, her voice soft and steady despite the storm inside her. "It's me. It's Mom. I'm here, sweetheart. You're safe now." For a long moment, he didn't move. Then, slowly, hesitantly, he lifted his head. Elaine gasped. His face was smeared with dirt and streaked with tears. His hair hung over his forehead in uneven clumps, and his eyes, those familiar, brown eyes, were wide with confusion and fear. He looked older, of course, nearly a man now. But the boy she'd lost was still there, written in the curve of his nose, the shape of his face, the way his lips trembled as he recognized her. "Mom?" he whispered. His voice cracked and broken. Tears filled her eyes. "Yes, baby. It's really me." An officer crouched beside them, speaking quietly. "He's showing signs of being under the influence of a hallucinogen. His pupils are dilated. He's disoriented, paranoid." Elaine barely heard him. She reached out and took Nathan's trembling hands in hers, feeling the warmth of his skin, the fragile pulse beneath her fingers. "You're safe now," she murmured, though she could see how deeply he was trapped in his fear. "No," Nathan said suddenly, jerking back. "No, I can't leave. They're out there, the zombies. It's the end of the world. They said people are dying. They said the experiment started again." Elaine's heart splintered at his words. Whatever Derek and his friends had done, whatever nightmare they'd trapped her son in, it had broken something inside him. "Nathan," she said gently but firmly, cupping his face, "there are no zombies. There are no experiments. You're safe now, I promise. Whatever they told you, it was all a lie." She spoke to him the way she used to when he was scared of storms or bad dreams, her voice wrapping around him like a blanket. Slowly, inch by inch, he began to calm. With the help of 2 officers, Elaine guided him to his feet. He clung to her, his body trembling, his eyes darting around the shadows as if expecting monsters to lunge from the trees. They made their way back through the woods, the distant hum of radios and sirens growing louder. The moment they stepped into the clearing, paramedics rushed forward with flashlights and blankets. The cruisers that had carried Derek and the others were already gone, their taillights vanishing into the night. Elaine stayed close as the medics examined Nathan. One of them looked up after shining a light into his eyes. "He's definitely still under the influence," the paramedic confirmed softly. "Heart rate's high, but he's stable." Elaine sat beside him in the back of the ambulance, never letting go of his hand. She could feel the tremor of his fear, the fragility of his breath. But beneath it all, there was life. Her boy was alive. And for the first time in 10 years, the long, cold ache inside her began to thaw. "We need to get him to the hospital," one of the paramedics said firmly. "We have to identify what he's been given and stabilize him properly." At the word hospital, Nathan's eyes shot open, panic flooding his face. "No hospital!" he cried, thrashing weakly against the straps. "They'll turn me. They'll experiment on me." "Shh, sweetheart," Elaine whispered, stroking his hair the way she used to when he was a little boy afraid of thunderstorms. "No one's going to hurt you. The doctors just want to help you feel better." The paramedic met her eyes with a look of gentle urgency. "Ma'am, he's too agitated. We'll have to give him something to calm him down. It's standard protocol for transport. Do you consent?" Elaine swallowed hard and nodded. "Do it." A mild sedative was administered through Nathan's IV. Within seconds, his breathing slowed, his muscles relaxing as the fear drained from his face. His eyelids fluttered, and he drifted into a fragile, uneasy sleep. Detective Morrison appeared at the back doors of the ambulance, his face illuminated by the flashing emergency lights. "Mrs. Whitmore," he said softly, "you should ride with him. My team's staying here to collect evidence. Walter Griggs is on his way." Elaine hesitated, torn between the need to confront Walter and the overwhelming instinct to stay with her son. "I want to talk to him," she said quietly. "I need to understand what he did." "I know," Morrison replied. His tone was calm but firm. "But your son needs you more right now. We'll speak with Walter and get his statement. You'll have your chance." Elaine turned as Donna approached, her expression full of worry and tenderness. "He's right," Donna said gently. "Go with Nathan. I'll come with you." Elaine's eyes softened with gratitude. "Please, I don't want to do this alone." "Of course," Donna said, climbing into the ambulance. The paramedic secured Nathan's stretcher and double-checked his vitals. Elaine took her place beside him, holding his limp hand as the doors closed. The sirens wailed to life, cutting through the cool night air, leaving the chaos of flashing lights and police tape behind. The ride was a blur. Elaine barely registered the passing trees or the rhythmic hum of the tires. Her focus never left Nathan's face. So pale, so fragile, yet so heartbreakingly real. After 10 long years of imagining his face, she was finally seeing it again. At the hospital, everything moved fast. The ambulance doors burst open, and paramedics rushed Nathan inside. Elaine tried to follow, but a nurse gently intercepted her, her tone kind but firm. "Ma'am, please let the doctors work. We'll take excellent care of him. Someone will come get you as soon as they can." Elaine and Donna were guided to a quiet waiting room away from the chaos. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above them, and the sterile beige walls pressed in like the weight of a decade of waiting. Elaine sank into a plastic chair, her hand trembling in her lap. "I can't believe it," she whispered. "He's alive. After all these years, he's alive." Donna reached over, squeezing her hand tightly. "You found him, Elaine. You never gave up." Tears slid down Elaine's cheeks. "If you hadn't pushed me to go out today, I'd still be sitting at home staring at those empty walls. If you hadn't dragged me to that yard sale." She broke off, her voice shaking. "I owe you everything." Donna smiled softly. "You don't owe me anything. You did what only a mother could do. You never stopped believing. Now, it's time to focus on the future. Nathan's going to need you more than ever." The minutes dragged on, heavy and endless. Elaine's thoughts spiraled, back to the woods, to Nathan's terror, to the haunted look in his eyes when he said the word zombies. What had those men done to him? What horrors had they convinced him were real? At last, the door opened, and a doctor stepped inside. He was older, with gentle eyes behind thin wire-rimmed glasses and the calm composure of someone who'd delivered difficult news before. "Mrs. Whitmore?" Elaine stood immediately. "Yes, how is he? Please tell me." "I'm Dr. Peterson," he said kindly. "I've been treating Nathan. He's stable for now. Based on our tests, he was given a hallucinogenic substance, a strong one designed to heighten sensory experiences and distort perception. That would explain his extreme distress and paranoia." Elaine's throat tightened. "So, he was drugged?" "Yes," Dr. Peterson said. "But the good news is there's no sign of physical abuse or long-term harm. We'll monitor him closely, but his vitals are strong." Elaine pressed a shaking hand to her chest. "Thank God." "There is some malnutrition," the doctor added gently. "He's underweight and dehydrated, but that's something we can treat easily with proper care and rest." Elaine closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. For the first time in a decade, she allowed herself to feel the one thing she'd been too afraid to believe in: relief. Her son was alive, and this time, she wasn't letting him go. Dr. Peterson's voice was calm but firm. "We've moved Nathan to a private room. He's resting while the drugs work their way out of his system." Elaine's eyes filled with tears. "Can I see him?" "Soon," the doctor promised gently. "Let's give him a little more time to recover first." He gave her a reassuring nod and quietly left. Minutes later, Detective Morrison entered the waiting room, accompanied by another officer. His face was serious, lined with exhaustion, but there was compassion in his eyes. "Mrs. Whitmore, Ms. Parker," he greeted them. "May we speak privately? There's a consultation room available." Elaine exchanged a quick glance with Donna, then followed him down the hall into a small, windowless room furnished with a round table and a few chairs. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly overhead. Morrison opened his worn leather notebook, flipping to a fresh page. "We've learned a great deal tonight," he began. "Walter Griggs's son, Derek, has confessed. He admitted to taking Nathan 10 years ago." Elaine leaned forward, her heart thudding painfully. "He admitted it?" Morrison nodded. "Yes, He didn't resist questioning. If anything, he seemed almost proud, though his account is deeply delusional. He believes he rescued Nathan, that he was meant to protect him. He called Nathan his little brother from another life. Elaine felt her breath catch in her throat. He said that? The detective's tone softened. He told us he loved Nathan in his own twisted, obsessive way. He claims he never wanted to hurt him, but he also never intended to return him. Elaine's voice quivered. How did he take him? What happened that day? Morrison flipped a page in his notebook. Derek was 21 at the time. He went to your son's 8th birthday party at Briarwood Park. You'd invited the whole neighborhood, correct? Elaine nodded slowly. Yes, it was a beautiful day. The kids were playing in the butterfly garden near the wooden jungle gym. Her voice faltered as the memory flooded back. The laughter, the sun, the birthday cake that was never eaten. Morrison continued gently. He gained Nathan's trust by pretending to be a cool, older friend. He told him they were going to play a secret spy game in the woods. When Nathan followed him, Derek gave him an antihistamine he'd taken from his father's medical kit, claiming it was part of the game. It sedated him just enough to carry him away unnoticed. Elaine covered her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks. He always wanted a big brother, she whispered. His father died before he was born. He was so trusting, so eager for someone to look up to. Morrison nodded solemnly. For the next 10 years, Derek kept Nathan in a sealed basement of an old property his father had forgotten to sell, on the outskirts of Ash Hollow. He homeschooled him, forged documents, built a fantasy world around him. Elaine's voice was barely audible. A basement. Derek told Nathan that everyone at his birthday party had been killed in a zombie outbreak, Morrison said quietly. He told him the world had ended, that the two of them were among the few survivors. He made himself Nathan's protector, the only one who could keep him safe from the undead. He maintained the illusion for years. Nathan never questioned it. Donna gasped softly, her hand tightening around Elaine's. So, when Nathan started to grow up, he wanted to go out, to help. Exactly, Morrison said. That's what led to tonight. The so-called party Derek and his friends were planning was another one of his fear rituals. He would drug Nathan with hallucinogens, stage zombie attacks with his friends, and terrify him into staying underground. The others thought it was just a creepy live-action horror event. None of them knew Nathan was Derek's prisoner. Elaine shook her head in disbelief, tears streaming freely now. He broke my son's mind, she said, her voice trembling. He made him believe monsters were real. Morrison's expression softened. It's over now, Mrs. Whitmore. Nathan's safe. He'll need time and therapy, but he's going to heal. Elaine wiped her tears with trembling hands. What about Walter? She asked suddenly. Did he know? Morrison hesitated before answering. Walter has spoken with us extensively. He insists he knew nothing about the kidnapping. He's requested to speak with you directly, if you're willing. Elaine hesitated for only a moment. Yes, she said finally. I want to hear what he has to say. The detective nodded and stepped out. Minutes later, he returned with Walter Griggs. The old man looked shattered, his shoulders sagging under a lifetime of guilt. Deep lines carved his face, and his eyes were bloodshot and weary. He sat across from Elaine, unable to meet her gaze at first. Mrs. Whitmore, he began hoarsely, I owe you an apology that no words can cover. I swear to you, I had no idea what my son had done. None. If I'd known, I would have turned him in myself. He paused, his voice shaking as he went on. I knew Derek had issues. He always fixated on children, obsessed over protecting them, watching them. I tried to get him help when he was younger, but he stopped going to therapy. I never imagined he'd go this far. He looked up then, his eyes filled with genuine torment. If I'd paid closer attention, if I hadn't dismissed the signs, maybe none of this would have happened. Elaine sat in silence, staring at the man whose son had destroyed her life. There was no hatred in her eyes now, only exhaustion and the quiet, aching grief of a mother who had finally found the truth. Walter's voice trembled as he spoke. his hands clasped tightly on the table as if trying to hold back the weight of years of regret. When I was still a police officer, I was gone most of the time. My shifts were long, and I left Derek with his grandparents more often than I should have. We were never close, not even when he grew up. I thought he just needed space. Elaine's tone hardened. Then why were you trying to hide that Game Boy this morning? Walter winced as if struck. Because when you recognized it, I knew. Deep down, I knew Derek must have done something terrible, but I couldn't face it. When you said your son had been kidnapped, I panicked. I thought maybe Derek had bullied a kid, maybe stolen something. I didn't want to believe he could go that far. His voice cracked under the weight of guilt. Years ago, I found pictures, images of children, on his computer. Nothing illegal, but it made me uneasy. I told myself he was just lonely, obsessed with protecting innocence, not harming it. I was a fool. I should have seen it. He lowered his head, tears glistening in his eyes. I am so deeply sorry for my son's actions, for my cowardice this morning, and for everything you've endured. I can't justify what he did. I can only hope the law will. Elaine sat in silence for a moment, her emotions torn between rage, sorrow, and pity. Finally, she nodded slowly. He will face justice, she said softly. But at least now, we know the truth. Detective Morrison cleared his throat gently. We've begun processing Derek and his associates, as well as the store clerk, Tony. Elaine blinked, remembering the frightened young man from the party store. Tony, what about him? Morrison nodded. He's been cleared of any direct involvement. He was terrified during questioning. Turns out he's on probation for a shoplifting charge from 2 years ago and was desperate not to violate it. He sold costumes and props to Derek, not knowing they were being used for something criminal. Derek tried to recruit him for that party, but Tony never showed. He helped design decorations, thinking it was part of his job. We'll note his cooperation in the report. A knock on the door broke the heavy silence. Dr. Peterson stepped in, his gentle smile instantly softening the room. Mrs. Whitmore, he said kindly. Nathan's awake. He's asking for you. Elaine stood so fast her chair tipped over. Her heart raced as she followed the doctor down the sterile hallway, each step echoing with anticipation. When they reached Nathan's room, the lights were dimmed, the air filled with the steady hum of hospital machines. There he was, her son, 18 now, yet fragile as the boy she remembered. He sat propped against a pillow, his frame thin, his face pale, eyes filled with confusion. Nathan, Elaine whispered, her voice trembling with love and disbelief. He looked up, wary but curious. You said you're my mother? Elaine nodded, her vision blurring with tears. Yes, sweetheart, I'm your mom. Nathan frowned, searching her face as if piecing together a dream. I barely remember. I was 8 when Derek took me, but I remember your voice. You used to sing to me when I was scared. Elaine smiled through her tears and sat beside him, taking his hand. That's right. I sang you lullabies every night. You'd fall asleep before the second verse. Nathan's eyes darted toward the window, still haunted. But Derek said the world ended, that there were zombies. He told me you were all gone. He said they ate you. Elaine's heart broke. She cupped his face gently. Oh, honey, none of that was true. Derek lied to you. There are no zombies. The world didn't end. I've been looking for you every single day for 10 years. You're safe now. Everyone's safe. From the doorway, Dr. Peterson spoke softly. Nathan will need ongoing therapy. The psychological trauma runs deep, but he's strong. With the right care, and with you, he can recover. Elaine never looked away from her son. I'll be with you every step of the way, she promised. We've missed 10 birthdays, 10 Christmases, 10 first days of school. But we'll make new memories together. We'll start again. Nathan squeezed her hand hesitantly. I want to believe you, he whispered. I want to believe it's really over. Elaine smiled through her tears. her voice steady with love. "It is, Nathan. It's over. You're home now." As she wrapped her arms around him, the years of fear and heartbreak melted away. For the first time in a decade, she felt whole again. The road ahead would be long, the healing slow, but it no longer mattered. After 10 years of darkness, her son was back in the light. And for the first time since that terrible day at Briarwood Park, Elaine truly believed in tomorrow. For 10 years, Elaine Whitmore lived every parent's worst nightmare, a world without answers, haunted by the silence of a missing child. But through love, faith, and relentless hope, she did what no one believed possible. She found her son and brought him home from the darkness. Some scars never fully heal, but sometimes miracles don't come from heaven. They come from a mother who refuses to stop searching. If this story moved you, let us know your thoughts in the comments and share this video so more people can witness the power of a mother's love. Don't forget to subscribe, because next week we uncover another unbelievable case, one that starts with a message left on a dusty VHS tape.